Back, folks. Chris Waters here on the stage at GameSpot's E3 booth, covering it live 2014. Joining me now, Alex and Jing, Dominic and Jing, to talk about Entwined, a game that I think came as a surprise to many during the Sony press conference. One of the few that wasn't leaked. It was marvelous, and also, you know, the Sony press conference was these swings, I think, from a different genres of games, different types of games, different art styles, and the swing into Entwined was just lovely. Have you guys? How's it been to have it out there?
It was so exciting to be part of the conference and to be able to announce and then launch at the same time, because we don't think many games have done that before.
That's right. You did the launch. You know what? Whenever those announcements are made, they're always exciting to me. Like, oh, we can get this game now. And then I realized that I'm like here for the next week, so it doesn't have quite the impact. But Entwined is available now, but you guys just announced it, and people are getting their first look at it. Yeah.
I mean, what a great opportunity to be part of the press conference and show the game, and then be able to say straight away, and you can actually buy it right now. It's a much more gamer-friendly way of getting your games out there.
Yeah, especially in this digital age.
Right, why can't we do that?
So we've got the game here, and we've got someone playing backstage. We're just going to go ahead and jump right in. Are we starting from the beginning of the game, or are we sort of...
So we've got Alex backstage, who's our producer, and I think he's going to be playing starting from level 2. But we should probably get Jing, the designer, to talk a little bit about the game.
Yeah, all right. So Jing, we sort of saw the we got a demo a little bit from Dominic during the press conference, but talk to us about, sort of set the stage for these two creatures that we see flying through space.
So it's based on like a traditional Chinese ancient story about fish and bird. They're original together as one, and there's also some folklore about fish and bird in love but couldn't be together because one live in the sky and one live in the water. So our game is about them trying to find each other through 9 lifetimes of reincarnation, and through this process, the player helped them to combine together as one dragon at the end.
And you sort of, you know, right from the start, they are combined in a way because the player is controlling them both with one controller.
Yeah.
And so, how does that control scheme work? Sort of, what was the motivation to make it that control?
So we used to have a 2-player prototype, and we found out, oh, we probably shouldn't do multiplayer because the audience might not be as big as single player. So we tried like 1 player control 2 characters, and we built a prototype that control 2 dots at the side. And we find out it's kind of confusing if the left dot go to the right. So we separate the screen into half. That's when the story come in because they couldn't touch each other.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it works gameplay-wise and within the story, within the myth. So, you know, I think folks are watching. They can see, you know, you're trying to sort of sweeping through these wedges. Some of them you fly through together. Some of them you must capture with one side or the other. What is the kind of gameplay experience you're trying to create?
It's more like a symmetric kind of experience. So we want it to be like when you're using your left brain, you also use your right brain. And because the music and art are so abstract, so wanted to evoke people's personal memory and get evoked by this experience and mesmerized by it. So like stuck into the middle of the screen and lost themselves and then in their own memories.
And I think anytime, I experienced this last year playing a game called Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, which you control 2 different characters, one with each control stick. You kind of do have to get yourself mesmerized. You kind of have to get your brain into thinking in these two parts, so which are separate, but you know, coming from one person. Did you have any sort of trouble finding the sweet spot of controls and how to design the levels around that?
Yeah, at the beginning we have some like hard to control ones, and we didn't figure out like how to match the circle. So like people are flicking joysticks. So later we find out maybe we'll ask them to push it outside and then roll so it matches exactly to the circle outside. So that's the part we find like hard at the beginning.
The circle kind of maps to the range of the joystick itself, so it kind of helps you, I guess. We've got a lot of people curious about the game, so I'm going to take a question from Twitter here. Makusu Anaki wants to know, well, first of all says, Entwined looks awesome, and wants me to ask if they're, you know, this sort of level is an aesthetic is Tron-like in their words, but do you guys sort of What kind of other aesthetics do you take on? I mean, actually, we're sort of seeing a bit of a change here. What's the artistic approach to the game here? Although, can we just put that question on hold and tell me what's happening right now? Because we've become the dragon.
Right. So within each lifetime, you get the chance to bring the two characters together, and when you do, they transform into this incredible dragon, which is meant to be a real high point and a reward for all of the challenge that you've had in the level. And it's a time for the players to express themselves. When you pick up the collectibles now, it's actually building up this meter, and it turns into living paint. So you can create your own aerial sculptures as you fly around, and everyone gets to make their own one. And we're really hoping that people use the PS4 share button to share their own unique creations. So it's a very abstract, idea, but we wanted the moment when they come together and the dragon to represent something really important, because it's the two finally getting to be together.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know what, actually, the whole sort of sculpture, I guess we'll see it in a second here, but you speaking of it reminds me of when I would play Flower and get a large tail and just spend time sort of intertwining myself and trying to make like a little sculpture in the air, make sort of shapes and such as stuff like that. So is that what the dragon is sort of going to go into
That's what he's doing right
here?
now, yeah.
And is it leaving those green streaks that we see, or are those already in? Oh, I see. So sort of it's like a paintbrush.
Yes. Exactly.
With your movement.
And each level has a very different type of paint. And you'll see when Alex finishes his own unique sculpture, animals will come out of the paint. So the idea is that the paint is alive and it's bringing these creatures out of the environment, and then they go and create the exit for you.
And they all ride on a Ferris wheel and have a good time?
They do.
So I guess that gets back to the question we were asking earlier is, if there's different kinds of paint, are there different... what is the visual difference between levels? What kind of aesthetics did you sort of play with from? Do you call the levels lifetimes?
We call them lifetimes, yeah.
From lifetime to lifetime. That's a very poetic way to refer to them.
There's 9 different lifetimes that you play through, and each one has a very different emotional feel at its core, and that's influenced the art style. So, in the third lifetime here, the emotion that we're trying to evoke is solitude and loneliness. So it's an ice level. It's cold. There's a unique soundtrack that our composer, Sam Marshall, has composed for every level. And the sound design also changes as well. So our sound designer, Greg, went in and created a unique tone that is played every time you go through an obstacle. And it allows you to feel like you're contributing to the soundtrack. So there's a note that plays each time you go through. And that's another part of immersing you in these different sensations and feelings. So there's a huge variety in look and feel that you go through in each level. And right at the very beginning of the process, when we're in pre-production, Jing put together this amazing emotional contour that we want the players to go through, and that was really the beginning of that process of figuring out what each level was going to look like, what it was going to sound like, and then it just became this big loop of collaboration between the teams to figure it all out.
It seems very telling of what kind of game you guys are trying to create, that almost the design document for the game was an emotional contour, not a feature list or anything like that.
Absolutely.
I noticed before, just in the very beginning of the level, the bird was sort of missed a few of the objects that it was trying to collect. And there was a bit of a red, and we saw like a little jarring there on the fish side. What is if you're not so good, if you're having a little trouble getting all the sphere, or running into all the objects, what is the player feedback? Can you fail a lifetime? How does that work?
So if you fail one obstacle, you lose some of the bar. You see the bar, the collectible that represent the memory between the two lovers. So when you hit something, you kind of lose the collectible bar. And when the collectible bar is full, you start the entwining mode that transforms into the dragon.
Okay.
So you don't die in the story mode, but your progress get kicked back a little bit.
So it would just take longer to get to that sort of culmination point.
There's also, one of the things we noticed when we were focus testing the game is that people tend to grasp the idea of the coordination at different points. And so the game actually has a dynamic difficulty curve that's attached to that as well. So as you were going through the stages that Jing was talking about and powering up and powering down, it also moves you on to more or less challenging sequences of obstacles to fly through. And we really wanted to make sure that everybody, no matter what your skill level, can play through the entire story mode and enjoy all of the things that it's trying to bring to you. And so hopefully as you get better and you get familiar and more instinctive with the controls, it will match that with more interesting obstacles for you to fly through.
Yeah, do you guys put that skill ceiling up a little bit higher, make it pretty challenging for challenge the dexterity of players?
And there's also, this is the story mode, but there's also a challenge mode as well that is just the pure mechanic distilled into its most challenging form. And it's kind of like an endless runner. You have to stay alive through there's 5 different elemental challenges, and you have to stay alive as long as you possibly can, but you only have 3 lives to make mistakes.
And you got a little sort of leaderboard challenge maybe there?
Absolutely.
Very cool.
And that version will also be available later on as our iOS and Android version too.
Oh, interesting. So Entwined not only out now on the PlayStation 4,
but PS3 and Vita in about a month, and then shortly after that we're going to launch the challenge mode on iOS and Android too.
And is that going to be holding your thumb sort of on either side of the touch screen?
Yes.
All right, very nice. Well, we are getting very close to transforming into the dragon here. We'll take a look at the sort of aesthetic that comes once we break out of this tunnel of solitude and cold, foreboding visuals. Does the fish have a name? Does the bird have a name? You guys
No.
Come on. I know, Dominic,
abstract.
I know you have names for them. You call them when you play at home. You can tell us.
I don't. You know, it's interesting. We talked a lot about how specific should we get with the narrative and the story, and I think we both agree we wanted to leave it abstract and not go and fill in those details so that everybody else can paint their own ideas over the top of it. They can all finish the thought. Gamers can finish the idea on their own. So it means different things to different people.
Yeah, especially when you're going to, you're focusing on evoking emotions. That's so personal for anyone who's playing it. So giving them room to put themselves in there is important. And here we are in sort of an Arctic feeling space. And oh, nice. I always love, like, no matter what game it's in, I love that effect of when you're flying and you get close to the water and the water sort of frills up. And so is this is this part? Can you sort of motion control this guy using the tilt sensors and such?
No, you can't. It's still twin sticks, but this time, because you're together, you coordinate in the same direction. And so that idea of them coming together and unifying actually changes in the controls as well.
So you're moving in unison with your 2 thumbs in harmony.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, we're going to see some painting in the sky here.
There we go.
Entwined, available now, coming soon on PS4.
Available now on PS4.
On PS4.
And coming soon on PS3 and Vita. And then a little bit after that, iOS and Android as well.
Very cool. Have people been able to get their hands on it here on the show floor? Been getting to see people play it? How has that been?
So excited to see people play, and then they lost themselves completely when they put the headphone in. When even you talk to them, they don't notice. They're it's so much fun just to watch.
I think
people
that means
play.
you did a really good job. Dominic, Jing, thank you so much for coming on,
Thanks,
showing
Chris.
off Entwined here on our stage.
Awesome.
Hope E3 continues to be fruitful for both of you.
Thank you.
And folks, we are going to be coming back to the live stage show here. Danny O'Dwyer is coming out, and there's going to be some Dance Central spotlight out here. I'm not sure if Danny's going to dance, but I hope so. I'll be back later this afternoon with some more demos, but for now, Danny's going to take over. Stick with us as GameSpot's coverage of E3 continues.